Greetings, kindred. Hope y'all are having a great day. Every day is a good day when you're in the Word. We're going to continue with our study of the book of Ezekiel, written by Pastor Lancelot Knight of the former King's Chapel. And today we begin with chapter 12. Ezekiel's about to put on another demonstration like he did in chapters 4 and 5. This time, he will be acting out the exile of his people and specifically enacting the history in advance of how King Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, would try to escape the judgment of Yahweh Elohim. Imagine that, trying to run and hide from Almighty Yahweh. You would think that to be a strange and rather unintelligent maneuver to attempt, but it seems to be a common trait among our people, the first attempt of which began in the beginning, where most things begin, believe it or not. Genesis 3, verse 8. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. Do you remember the demonstrations that Ezekiel gave in chapters 4 and 5 concerning the siege of Jerusalem that gave us a picture to see in our mind's eye what was about to happen? Well, this scene opens the same way, with Yahweh speaking to Ezekiel and telling him the reason and the purpose for the demonstration, the play, which he is about to perform. So go grab some popcorn and get ready to pay close attention to what you are about to see in your mind's eye, a vision from the word of Yahweh, for it is a drama of serious consequences. Ezekiel 12:1. The word of Elohim also came unto me, saying, Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house, which have eyes to see and see not, they have ears to hear and hear not, for they are a rebellious house. Understand, they could see, know the truth if they wanted to, but they don't want to. They could hear his voice if they wanted to, but they don't want to, for they are a rebellious house. They would much rather see and listen to a soothsayer tell them that all they have to do is just believe, and they will escape in the rapture mobile. Study his word, who needs it? So, you see, it is not a matter of incapacity, but a matter of ignorance, of laziness, and even perversity. As Peter declares in 2 Peter 3:5, they are willingly ignorant of his word. Here's what Ezekiel is supposed to do, verse 3. Therefore, thou son of man, prepare thee stuff for removing, and remove by day in their sight, and thou shalt remove from thy place to another place in their sight. It may be, they will consider, though they be a rebellious house. Stuff for removing means an exile's outfit, like a staff, a knapsack, a supply of food, and some clothing. In other words, Ezekiel is to pack his bags for deportation and do it in broad daylight so everyone can see him, and perhaps, just perhaps, maybe some will get the picture. Ezekiel 12, verse 4. Then shalt thou bring forth thy stuff by day in their sight as stuff for removing, and thou shalt go forth at even in their sight as they that go forth into captivity. Get everything ready during the day so everyone can see that you are about to go into exile, and then depart your house in the evening. Then, while everyone is watching, go dig a tunnel in the wall of the city and carry your possessions out through the hole. Verse 5. Dig thou through the wall in their sight and carry out thereby. As verse 10 will document, this is a prophecy concerning the attempted escape during the siege of the city by the prince in Jerusalem, i.e. King Zedekiah, who would try to flee Jerusalem at night incognito through the gate between the walls. Verse 6, In their sight shalt thou bear it upon thy shoulders, and carry it forth in the twilight. Thou shalt cover thy face, that thou see not the ground, for I have set thee for a sign unto the house of Israel. Ezekiel is to flee the city in the twilight with all his baggage and conceal his face, i.e., his identity. Notice that he was set as a sign unto the house of Israel, that this is going to transpire very soon. Here's the historical account from Jeremiah concerning Zedekiah's escape and capture. Jeremiah 39:4. And it came to pass that when Zedekiah the king of Judah saw them and all the men of war, then they fled and went forth out of the city by night, by the way of the king's garden, by the gate betwixt the two walls, and he went out the way of the plain. Verse 5, But the Chaldeans' army pursued after them, and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. And when they had taken him, they brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to Riblah, in the land of Hamath, where he gave judgment upon him. The Chaldeans' army is called God's net in verse 13. Watch what happens next. Verse 6. Then the king of Babylon slew the sons of Zedekiah in Riblah before his eyes. Also the king of Babylon slew all the nobles of Judah. Nebuchadnezzar killed all of Zedekiah's sons right before his eyes, along with all the nobles of Judah. Then, after Zedekiah saw his sons slain, the king of Babylon had his eyes put out, fulfilling the prophecy of verse 13 that he would not see Babylon, though he would be taken there and die there. Verse 7, Moreover, he put out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him with chains to carry him to Babylon. It is a shame that our people don't know the rich history that follows this important historical event concerning the last king of Judah. You see, King Nebuchadnezzar forgot to kill Zedekiah's daughters, the young tender twigs of the high branch, whose destinies we will read about in chapter 17. Jeremiah the prophet will take the king's daughters along with the stone of Scone to the shores of Ireland, and there will be a marriage performed upon that stone, that rock, that will reunite the two lineages of Judah through Judah's sons, Zerah and Pharez. That stone of Scone is the same rock which was Jacob's pillow that he anointed as Bethel, the house of God. It was carried in the wilderness and was the very rock that Moses struck and the water poured forth. Virtually all the kings and queens of Ireland, Scotland, and England have been coronated upon that rock, as it was prophesied to be overturned 3 times to each of those countries respectively. A few years ago, it was moved from under the coronation chair in Westminster Abbey, and where it has resided since the 1300s, to Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. You can do a web search on Stone of Scone. You can start here, and he provides a link if you want to look at the text here. Note, if you would like to read the rich history of the stone of Scone and the details of its journey and of the prophetic overturning, then email us for the book Jacob's Pillar by E. Raymond Capt. This is a must-have book for the serious Bible student. Let's return to Ezekiel, who did as he was commanded without whining and complaining. Ezekiel 12, verse 7. As I did so, and as I was commanded, I brought forth my stuff by day as stuff for captivity, and in the evening I digged through the wall with mine hand, and I brought it forth in the twilight, and I bare it upon my shoulder in their sight. Ezekiel did his stuff, verse 8. And in the morning came the word of Elohim unto me, saying, verse 9, Son of man, hath not the house of Israel, the rebellious house, said unto thee, What doest thou? Okay, Ezekiel, when they ask, What in the world are you doing, man? Here's what you say, verse 10. Say thou unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, This burden concerneth the prince in Jerusalem and all the house of Israel that are among them. Nowhere do we read that Ezekiel is instructed to give his own opinion about what all this means, nor is he to go around the city and do surveys and ask, Mrs. Observer, what does this mean to you? Or, Mr. Observer, what is your interpretation of what you just saw? He is told to say, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim. This is exactly what it means, and your opinion doesn't matter one iota. This demonstration is about the flight of the ruler Zedekiah and the exile of all the house of Israel. Ezekiel 12, verse 11. Say, I am your sign. Like as I have done, so shall it be done unto them. They shall remove and go into captivity. Say, I am your sign, and what you have just seen me do is exactly what is going to happen. You are going to be removed from your homes and exiled, period. Verse 12. And the prince that is among them shall bear upon his shoulder in the twilight, and shall go forth. They shall dig through the wall to carry out thereby. He shall cover his face, that he see not the ground with his eyes. And Zedekiah will flee through the wall at twilight, trying to conceal his identity, but he will be captured by the Chaldean army. His eyes will be put out, and he will die in Babylon, which means confusion. As we have studied in previous lessons, in the final siege by the king of Babylon, there will be no escape for the rebellious, and many will die spiritually in the religious confusion, Babylon, because they have their eyes that could have seen put out by the powerful king of Babylon, who is the spurious Messiah. Verse 13. My net also will spread upon him, and he shall be taken in my snare, and I will bring him into Babylon and to the land of the Chaldeans. Yet shall he not see it, though he shall die there. And so the fate of King Zedekiah came to pass exactly as it was written. Verse 14. And I will scatter toward every wind all that are about him to help him, and all his bands, and I will draw out the sword after him. And so it came to pass exactly as it is written. The house of Israel was scattered to the four winds. Verse 15. And they shall know that I am Elohim, when I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries. And this is the reason for the judgment, that they may know that I am Elohim, and there is none other. Verse 16. But I will leave a few men of them from the sword, from the famine, and from the pestilence, that they may declare all their abominations among the heathen, whither they come, and they shall know that I am Elohim. Hey, that almost sounds like the Marine Corps. God said he will leave a few good men or women to carry forth the declarations of his word to those captive among the heathen, those who are confused by religion and churchianity. Are you one of those few good men? Okay, that ends our study for today. We'll pick it up next time with Ezekiel chapter 13, and Yahweh bless.